No one predicted it would be this bloody. So what does that tell you?
بس عشان ندي فرص للي ما سألوش. دكتور يوسف.
حضرتك بس سؤال, just a question. I don't know if you have any contacts with the government right now in Egypt or not, because apparently you have most of your contacts with the Muslim Brotherhood. What are your expectations for the future in Egypt, like how Egypt will look in 5 or 10 years from now? And if there's any chance for reconciliation in Egypt, and what is Sisi is now, is he a prisoner of his, media and businessmen, or is he able to establish like a real democratic country?
Well,
Sisi?
Yeah. I mean, I know that, but I just had to ask those questions. I mean, is this like
Question
our
ever.
main goal?
Okay, so look, I don't think it's possible for Sisi to become a Democrat, because you can't just, this expectation that Sisi will change overnight. We have 1 year of experience to go on.
He said the time frame for him, 8 years, no question asked you as well.
Yeah. But also what's troubling to me about Sisi is that there's something psychological. I mean, here's someone who talks about himself in the third person, who talks about dreams, where Sadat comes to him in his sleep and tells him he's the anointed one. I mean, this is classic messianic dictator talk. This is not the normal stuff. So I worry, and he believes the hype around him. And if you look at his campaign statements, there's no political program. There's only one common thread in everything he said: maximize the power of the state. The state is the answer. He can't think outside the notion of the state. And I guess it's understandable. I mean, he's been in the military since he was 15. He doesn't know in Egypt outside the state. So that's a problem. But also, like I said, I mean, his base wants him to be brutal to the Brotherhood. And he said in his campaign, I am pledging to end them. So he was very clear. So we can't pretend and say, well, he left it a little bit open. He said they will be finished. And his backers want that. I mean, the Saudis and the Emiratis. So, and I think that the troubling signs now, I mean, Alaa being sentenced to 15 years, it's not even about Islamists anymore. It's about zero tolerance for any kind of dissent. So, I mean, I just don't see a lot to be optimistic about, and I have a lot of trouble seeing, I can't really envision a scenario through which the military is removed peacefully from power. They're not going to give up power because they have blood on their hands. This is the problem. This is why Rabaa was a turning point. Before Rabaa, at least there weren't any major crimes. There was, well, before the first massacre, there weren't any. But once you start killing people in the street, then that's a problem, because if you lose power, then you might be tried. So they have no incentive, unless they can work out some kind of understanding where there's an immunity or a safe exit or whatever it happens to be. But they have so much blood on their hands now that it makes it that much more difficult. I think the only hope that I see is, if you look at other civil conflicts and civil wars, I'll say civil conflicts because that's more comparable, but in places like Argentina, Chile, they went through long periods of repression after military coups, and Chile had the 1973 coup. Pinochet came to power. He stayed in power for 18 years. I don't think it'll be 18 years. I think it'll be less than that. But at some point, Chileans said, there's been too much killing, there's been too much disappearances. We're tired, and we have to find a way to live with each other. So there comes a point where people lose their tolerance for violence, and they say, we're done. So the question is, when will Egyptians meet their tolerance for violence? And so I think in some sense, violence is a process that some societies have to go through to learn the lesson, never again. Egyptians have to say never again. But that takes time, and it takes a lot of bloodshed, I think. I don't know if that's hopeful or not, but
violence mean between the people and the military, or the people and themselves? Because now the society is split.
They are all Egyptians.
No, I don't think it's still. I think the blood is still to come among people.
yeah, that there could be more of that. Yes, that's possible.
And maybe also the only solution is some army taking out.
Because the problem, there is still a lot of liberals who are betting that Sisi is going to be the savior and he's going to establish a democratic country. So I cannot see how can they comprehend I mean, haven't seen all this bloodshed in the country. I mean, that's
Hamid.
simply ridiculous. I mean.
This is the delusions. I just want to make a comment, no question. As I heard from Tamarrud, people who are, later on defected from that, they said that the Sisi speech was written on the 25th of June
I've heard stuff like
by Hegel. So it's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's a scene that's 100% coup, and he took power afterwards. So I don't think there's any hope unless things are back to where they are. Democracy is not going to be achieved in Egypt, unless something miraculous will happen, in the near future.
I mean, last
I,
word.
I would like to talk about the part, you talk about the Cairo and Brussels declaration, and I'm active on that with some people, and we had a meeting in this room between some Muslim Brotherhood, really representative Muslim Brotherhood, and other liberals and so, and we're going to continue on that. I see is that's the change will come from Egypt, not from outside. We only bring idea to the table, and if Egypt use it or not, that's something else. I think the Brussels and Cairo declaration is the base for the change, for the revolutionary people, for people who believe in a revolution of January 25th, and this will continue. It might have some setback or not. It doesn't matter to me, because even the declaration say we have some ideas, but this is open. It's not set. Some people say we want Morsi back or not. It doesn't matter. Everybody can come with their idea, but we're going to do something to agree on one thing. And some Muslim Brotherhood clearly believe that the issue is democratic now. Democracy. We don't care about Morsi or Muslim Brotherhood back to power or not. That's not the issue. The issue is we would like to have a democratic country with a human right, respect of human rights as any country, and the law, the rule of law in Egypt. It's less than that is not acceptable. The military has to be out of power, completely out of power, political control, and out of the economy. That's the disaster of Egypt for the 60 years. They taken all the contract. They occupy all the Egyptian land. They own it. When they make a project, they come with the project as they own the land. They have a slave labor, which is the people who drafted. They get minimum pay as a draftee, and then they work for their business for nothing. They don't give them salary for that. This business has to go to the unemployed. This has to go to the private sector to reduce unemployment and improve the standard of living of the Egyptian. People who talk less than that, they are not interested of the well-being of the Egyptian people. And the Egyptian people will understand that. They might hate the Muslim Brotherhood, that's not the issue now. We don't care about Muslim Brotherhood, we care about the state of Egypt and the status of the Egyptian person, and people start getting that. It might take time, but people working toward that. I know you hear from people, Muslim Brotherhood here or there, they are not in control of everything, in my opinion,
sure,
now.
Sure.
I mean, you're more
Yeah.
dangerous than the Muslim brother.
Sorry, who? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I mean, so I think Brussels and Cairo were positive steps, certainly, but it's just not clear to me where they go from here, in the sense that, so you said the goal is removing the military from power. I cannot conceive of any scenario. I don't even know what that looks like. How do you do that? And certainly,
They will walk out, in my opinion. They will walk out when you have everybody against them. They will walk out clearly.
But-
Leave the
but-
country.
but they're repressive.
We don't need to think about that. I think it's not important right now.
so I think so if you had a critical mass of people on the streets, I think what's more likely is a counter coup, similar to what happened in 2011. But to see the military is so entrenched in Egyptian society, and this is actually one of the differences between